Welcome to GRN, the Growth and Resilience Network, where every episode brings you targeted stories and strategies for professional and personal growth and resilience. I'm Steve Piscitelli, your host. Today we're going to talk about work-life balance. You know, in our 24/7, everything is an immediate response, micro-message world. We've got a lot of demands on our time and attention, and even more distractions. So finding time to maintain a healthy balance between work and our personal lives can be difficult. And when we include the demands and joys of parenthood for our working parents, we add in more layers, more challenges to do a great job in one's career, provide quality parenting, and take care of yourself at the same time. You know, and we're talking about millions of families and millions of working parents. Consider these findings from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Among the 34.4 million USA families with children in 2014, nearly 90% had at least one employed parent. All right? And among the married couple families with children, nearly 97% had at least one employed parent. And according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the share of married couple families with children where both parents worked was at 60%. Now that figures to be quite a few parents and kids touched by our topic today. And also consider a quick Google search I did recently. It showed that when I put in the search terms of working mom balance, I got more than 25 million hits. And when I put in working dad balance, I got 63 million hits. And that's why our subtitle today for this podcast is A Working Mother's Perspective. It's one person, one perspective for us to dig down a little deeper in the topic. And I know for the decades I spent in a college classroom, many of my students were working parents, many were single moms, some single dads, and a good number of those families had both spouses working. But our society many times, right, wrong, focuses on the mother. Whoever is the working parent, one thing seems constant, and that is that he, she, they have a great deal to juggle, and a lot is at stake for the mom, the dad, the child, and the marriage. So maybe I should call our guest today our juggler in residence. And now I've had the great fortune to know and work with Ms. Katie Mahan for a number of years. Katie describes herself as a 30-something whose favorite job is being mom to Emma, who is 6, Peyton, 5, and Grant, pushing 2. Katie's also the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of the Mahan household. She's been blissfully married for 10 years to Brent Mahan, who she describes as my incredibly supportive husband and amazing father to our 3 kids. Currently, Katie is a senior account manager for an industry-leading educational company. She consults with private sector colleges on curriculum development, content selection, and technology training and implementation. She has been a working mom for 6 years, with her only break in the workplace action being her 3 maternity leaves, which she did remind me she did not really consider to be vacations. Today, Katie is coming to us via a Skype call. And me, well, as usual, I'm from my headquarters, my world headquarters here in Atlantic Beach. So, folks, let's welcome our working parent in residence today to the GRN studios, Miss Katie Mahan. Katie, welcome, my friend.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's start with the brief time we have today. I think there are a couple of elephants in the room that I want to address right off. First thing we have to clarify, what you and I are talking about when we speak of working mothers, because the reality is a housewife, quote unquote, is, after all, a working mom doing such great work at the home level, as you called it, the COO of the home. So, Katie, from your perspective, what are we talking about when we say working mother?
Well, see, first, I just want to say I have the utmost respect for stay-at-home moms and the commitment that they have to their children day in and day out. And it's not that I think they are not working, as you said, because they have one of the hardest and most important jobs that there is. But I guess my definition of a working mom is one who is employed either full or part-time, in addition to their number one job as mommy.
Okay. And then the second elephant in the room, because I actually, when I had posted on Facebook, I was doing this interview, and we got some questions that I'm going to throw your way in a few minutes. Some folks had said, would we have this discussion if it was a working dad? So that second elephant is basically, would we be having this conversation if you were a man? Would we be delving into how the man balances career and life? And as I stated in my intro, there are a lot of working dads in the workforce. What do you think about that?
Well, I think for everyone it's different. This is my unique experience that I can speak to. But in my experience, I would say yes. I am very lucky to have a partner who is 100% as involved as I am in caring for our children and also holding a full-time job. And I know this is not universal. However, I will say that I feel like it is much easier for my husband to turn off the daddy side of himself when he goes to work. And me, on the other hand, being the mommy, not so much.
Not so much.
I'll just give you one example there. Just last week, I was getting ready to present at a college to 500 people. And right before I was getting ready to go on stage, I found myself wondering if it was PE day at school, and did I send my oldest daughter in her gym shoes? And did I remember to stick that signed field trip form back in my kindergartner's folder? And I can tell you, those thoughts do not run through my husband's head throughout the course of the day. He's able to kind of shut it off at work, but then he is very present when he comes home at the end of the day.
Wow. Well,
so it's different.
Yeah, and that ties into when I was looking at doing some research before this episode and this conversation with you, I came across this term of mommy guilt. Is there such a thing as mommy guilt? She's
Absolutely.
laughing.
And I'm Catholic, and I think mommy guilt is even worse than Catholic guilt, but that's just me. But yeah, absolutely. There are times when I have to maybe miss something. I just recently had to miss literacy night at my kids' school, which I was really bummed about, and it feels awful to have to do that. Or just times when I feel like I might not be devoting enough time to my kids. The mommy guilt is there. It's there. But you just have to balance it out with the pros of what you're doing for your kids.
Yeah, it's interesting. And following up on that, one author I was reading, Margie Worrell, she said, and this is a quote, "I wanted children to enrich my life, not enslave my conscience," end of quote. And when I was hearing you answer, I'm hearing of trade-offs. And I don't know if this is a fair question or not. When, anytime you say list the top three, that's always somewhat forced and contrived. But what have you experienced as your biggest trade-offs in your job, in your responsibility as a working out-of-the-home mom?
I would say probably the number one thing is obviously my time. I am definitely splitting my time between work and balancing my family life. So always feeling like there could be more hours in a day would probably be my number one trade-off. Energy is another thing. I think, just when you're putting yourself into your work every day, and then you come home and sometimes you feel like, oh, I've got nothing left. So just finding the energy to get excited about bath time and dinner time and homework time. Finding that energy and finding that within yourself to forge on when you're exhausted.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I'm thinking of back when you were saying you're getting ready to talk to 500 people and you're thinking about the field trip form. Did I sign the permission form? Here's a question from one of our Facebook listeners. what are the backup plans when kids get sick? Who are her support groups? What things can we let go of, for example? This one listener said, I discovered that God made the beds to air out in the daytime. I didn't need to have to make them. So,
I love that quote, by the way. That is awesome. Yes.
So I assume you're not just winging this when you get on a plane or get in your car and go off and Brent goes off to work. You got to have backup plans. Does that come to support networking again?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're very lucky to live, in close proximity to both of our families. So we get a lot of help from my parents, specifically my mom and my mother-in-law are always willing to pitch in. My mother-in-law is retired, so it's nice because she has a more flexible schedule and can pitch in as needed. Depending on what the kids are sick with, obviously if it's something I don't want, if it's something communicable that I don't want to give to, our parents, then Brett and I will call in sick if we need to.
Sure.
We wouldn't hesitate to do that. But in terms of what I let go, I have another quote for you that I love, and it's the best moms have messy floors and happy kids.
Messy floors and happy kids.
And dirty ovens. I can't tell you the last time I cleaned my oven. Yeah, so, you do have to let some of those things go because there just aren't, enough hours in the day. Absolutely. If my house isn't clean every night or every day, which it usually isn't, you walk into my laundry room, there's mountains of laundry. Some of those things you just have to let roll or you'll just really drive yourself crazy.
And following on that, with obviously you're working, Brent's working, and for all the moms and dads working out there, one of the obvious benefits is the income and the fringe benefits of especially a full-time employment.
Right.
What besides, and then I also recognize that for some folks, that extra income could be eaten up rather quickly with childcare. If they have to,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that can happen. But beyond the income and the fringe benefits and health care, what benefits have you found with being a working mom?
Well, I really have a passion for what I do, and I love what I do, and I'd like to think that I make a difference every day.
I have to interject, having worked with you, you are wonderful at what you do. You're extremely competent and caring, and you're good. You're a natural for what you do, and you do show the passion.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I just love using a different part of my brain. It's a new challenge for me, and no day is ever really the same for me at work, and I like that. And I love the social interaction. I like meeting new and interesting people and having adult conversations. It just kind of helps fulfill me in a different way than I am fulfilled in being with my children.
Yeah. Here's one that came in from a Facebook listener again. This shifting gears a little bit. And the quote, I'm directly quoting the question, if you have decided to stay at home to raise your children for a certain length of time, how do you resolve the mommy gap on your resume? Interesting question.
That's a great question. And, I haven't had any breaks from work other than my maternity leave. So I did reach out to a couple of my friends who made the decision to stay home and have since re-entered the workforce or getting ready to. And I posed this question to them. Okay. And here are some of the things that I got back, which I think are all really great suggestions. One of my friends said to volunteer, that if you volunteer, it's going to keep your intellect sharp and it can introduce you to different people within the community that might have some influence.
So
and that you should
a way
seek
of
out
networking.
Opportunities.
Yeah, way of networking.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly. And you should seek out opportunities that let you use your professional talents that could tie to future employment and not just, say, chaperoning a field trip.
Interesting. And you never had to deal with that. It sounds like you took maternity leave and then went back to your employer that you had prior to the maternity leave, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Another one of my friends said just to make sure that you're keeping up with any new developments in your industry, that you're well read on relevant publications, that you maintain whatever education requirements you need to keep, say, your license current if you're a teacher, et cetera. And that you continue to update whatever your marketable skills are. To take classes or consider going back part-time to get a certificate or a degree, or if money is a factor and that's not a possibility, to look into some of the free options online, like the MOOCs, the massive open online courses, which offer, professional development type skills that you can add to your resume just to show that while you were outside of the workforce, you were continuing to develop those skills.
All good points. Yeah, and there's the opportunity with, like you're saying, with the online opportunities for online courses and just blogging. Just looking at the blogs that are out there and podcasts,
right.
And you can really stay up to date with those things. Yeah, that's interesting. When you're home, what have you done to create a distraction-free, work-free zone? Because, I got this image where, and I hear and I know folks to do this, they're at home, but the tablet's not far away. The phone is tethered to them. They're checking the company email. Are you able to have that distraction-free zone? And if so, how have you done that?
Yes. Yes, definitely. And I think it is extremely important to have a dedicated workspace, even if you don't have an office space, a workspace that is dedicated just for your work. I have a personal rule for myself where my work phone and my computer, my laptop, live in my office. I do have a home office here. And they live there from 5:30 when I, pick the kids up until 9:30 at night, and they don't come out and I don't go in.
And your paths do not cross in that period of time.
That's right, because I really do think that there needs to be that time to decompress and to focus on, my kids. And for me, if my work was close, it would be a distraction. So I literally lock it away and I don't touch it until they're in bed, and that's only if I absolutely have to finish something.
And I know your children are still quite young. Have you at this point, or do you plan in the future, have you given thought to it, about conversations you'll have with your children about mommy and daddy working outside of the home and being away? Has that come up now at this point in your life with your children? And do you have any plans of talking about that?
It has absolutely come up. My children, like many others, think, that money grows on trees. So we have to have conversations about why things cost money and why people work to be able to, support choices that we make for things that we purchase. But yeah, and especially in circumstances where I've had to miss an event or, literacy night at school, I think I mentioned earlier. My kids are, why do you have to work? Why do you have to do that? And I remind them that what working provides them. And it's not only the things that we have, but it's vacations we take, it's, funding whatever extracurricular activities they want to do. And when I relate it back to them and the good of our family, they seem to get it. So, yeah, they're starting to understand more and more. And now they're earning their own money for doing chores and things around the house. So they're getting a little taste of what it's like to work hard for your money and then
early
be able
on,
to spend what you want.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I'm going to ask a couple more questions, and then I think we all know that you have a rather full day ahead of you. I've heard mothers say, and this is specifically when I was in the classroom and I talk with my students, and they would talk about how the mothers and the fathers, sacrifice their own exercise and their sleep, or in other words, in some respects, their own health for their children. Speak to that.
Most definitely. I would say that I definitely come last in our house pretty much when it comes to doing everything. Sometimes my breakfast, lunch, or dinner will consist of whatever leftovers I'm scraping from my kids' plate. I'm not going to lie. I will stay up till odd hours of the morning ironing on Girl Scout patches or packing lunches or baking cupcakes for the bake sale at school. You know, some days I get to shower. It's just, it's easy to put everybody else first, for sure. But I do try to carve out time for myself during the week to go to the gym, to go to a yoga class, to do something that allows me to breathe and relax and take care of myself, because I think it's so important to the overall well-being of being a good parent.
Yeah, it's a timeout for you, a health timeout. And
yes.
Yeah, it's the caregiver taking care of the caregiver, which is so cliche, but I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Absolutely.
And again, you know, when I've seen you from time to time, wherever it might be in the country, you always have taken good care of yourself, and that's an important thing on so many levels. And it's hard to be focused on growth and resilience if you're not healthy. So that's a basic building block, and it's good to hear you say that. You know, let's bring it to a close, Katie. You know, we've covered a lot, you've covered a lot, and we could cover so much more. I understand that. So if you were going to boil this down to one thing, something that our listeners could apply, something that they could take away, since we are talking about growth and resilience, a strategy, whether they're a working mom, a working dad, or not. You got any suggestions that you'd like to leave them with? And then I'm going to leave them with a little call to action. I always give them, you know, I got the old teacher in me. I got to leave them with homework.
Right. It's the teacher in you.
That's right.
Yeah, you know, my piece of advice would be just, you don't have to strive for perfection. You just have to strive for your own personal best each and every day. And my advice would be to nurture the parts of you that really make you whole. And in doing so, you will be a better parent, employee, spouse, and friend because of it.
Yeah, make you whole. It sounds so simple, but for so many people, that's missing. So very poignant. So, folks, I'm going to leave you with a call to action, as I had said. As soon as you can, after you click off the podcast, take a moment, think about what Katie shared today. And I would ask you to do the following. You know, whether you're a working parent or not, consider 3 things you can either add to or augment in your own weekly routine that will help you create a stronger and more resilient you. Now, it could be something physical, like start or improve an exercise routine. It could be something social, find time to connect or reconnect with your partner, or on an adult, non-mommy, non-daddy level. It could be something spiritual, finding a quiet time to reconnect with a higher being or source. And then, you know, in your own journal or on your tablet, someplace where you'll be reminded, write those things down. And then probably the most critical thing is begin to take action immediately. Because planning is great, but we got to take the action, right? So, again, I want to thank Katie. Katie, I know you are busy, and you and I had been threatening to do this for a number of months, and I'm glad I was able to track you down someplace in this country. And I really appreciate
so much,
it.
Steve.
And thank you to the listeners. Without you, there is no Growth and Resilience Network. Visit my website, stevepiscitelli.com, for more information about upcoming conversations on the GRN and about my programs and other resources for your personal growth and resilience. And while you're there, you can sign up for my email and newsletter list. And please, no, I will not spam you. I will not spam you. So until we meet again, either virtually, online, or somewhere in person around this great nation, this is Steve Piscitelli from my headquarters, my world headquarters here in Atlantic Beach, Florida, reminding all of us to choose well, live well, and be well. Bye-bye, folks.